want to first start out by throwing a jug, and then move on to a section piece that will be thrown in two parts and then put together and then thrown some more. So roughly 4.5 pounds of clay, centered it, I've opened it, I'm going to throw a flat bottom. So just like the pitcher and the mug, you know, I want a really nice thin, maybe like 1/8 of an inch or less clay on the bottom. And when I open, pulling out towards me, I'm going to try to pull parallel to the wheel head so it stays nice and flat. Okay. And I'm going to open this just slightly larger than I want the finished base to end up being. Because as I'm pulling the clay up, I'm going to be pushing that in, and so the interior is going to shrink. Compress the bottom, this part, right? Making it nice and flat, nice and compressed, getting rid of any throwing lines and any extra water down there. So now again, like the pitcher, I want to get this nice and thin, especially at the bottom so it doesn't have a lot of weight. And I'm also going to ask it to stretch pretty far and then come back in. So I want to try to use as little water as possible, because the more water I use, you know, the softer the clay gets and the more it's going to want to fall down on me and not support this shape. So first, establishing this ring of clay underneath the bottom here, I just pushed in, kind of pushing against the wheel head and forward so that it's scooping all that clay from underneath. Okay. And I'm going to do that grip pull method where I'm squeezing my hands together like this and just lifting up. And this hand really is just the sponge. I can apply some water if I need it if it starts to get
So
too
you're not
dry.
pushing with that hand at all?
Not really.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit for some support.
Yeah.
Against the thumb, but it's mostly a pinching action.
Uh-huh.
And I compress the top. And so to add some water and not douse this thing and then have a big puddle at the bottom, I'm just wetting my sponge and just running it along the wall, and it kind of dampens it enough that it allows my hand to kind of glide smoothly up the interior surface without sticking. As you can see, I'm kind of pushing inward, and so that's making this sort of pyramid shape. And it's going to help it hold its form and stay standing up straight. So now in these next pulls, I need to start adding some shape to this and kind of bellying this out and then bringing the top back in. Because I want to make this sort of a gradual sort of set of movements instead of trying to do it all at once right at the end, because it will tend to stress it too much. So right now I'm pushing in and kind of curving in that bottom, and then at this point I'm going to switch, and my inside hand is now pushing out to belly this out and create that curve. Okay, and then at this point, now it's going to, my outside hand is pushing back in to start collaring this neck in. Okay. So
have you left it pretty thick at the top?
it's a little bit thicker because I'm going to ask it to stretch in and up, so I need to leave it a little bit. It's not quite as thick as you see here, because it's a little bit thicker, but it's pretty close. So now I'm just going to take, using the insides of my hands, and I'm going to start to squeeze this, getting some water. Okay. And so I start down here and I start squeezing inward and lifting up. You see how that slowly starts to collar that in. Do that one more time.
You finished with the inside?
No, not yet. I'm just starting to get this shape. Because I left it big enough so now my hand can still get inside, because I'm going to go back in and finish this shape out. But I need to start to bring this in now before this gets too thin down here. Okay, so now on these poles I'm going to be shaping, and I'm going to be using the little metal rib on the inside and the rib, this big one on the outside. And it'd be the same thing when I start down here. I'll be pushing in with the rib, and then as I make this transition, I start to push out with the inside hand.
But you can't get that rib all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, I can.
You can?
Yep.
Oh. Well, I can't.
Well, it takes practice. But, so do you understand what I'm talking about when I'm saying when I'm pushing with one hand and the other? I'm really trying to explain how you control the form. So starting on the bottom. I'm going to make one more stretch of the belly, and I'll call that done, and then I'll go back and work on the top.
Notice his placement of his fingers on the inside rib.
Okay, he comes up.
Inside rib, this one.
Yeah.
Straight, parallel.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm using, and you can see where the clay is building up.
Yeah.
So I'm using right here at this edge to lift. Yeah, these are nice because they have the little texture here.
Yeah, to hang on to.
So
Yeah, they're great.
it doesn't slip out of your hands. Okay, so now the belly's been formed here, and now I'm going to continue to collar this neck in to bring it into that nice like cork. Okay.
As you're collaring, it's getting thicker on the top. Do you have to pull
Well,
up
it's
at all?
a
or?
little bit thicker. I am going to go in
Okay.
and pull some too, but it's a little bit thicker because I'm going to ask it to stretch. So it's just a little bit at a time. That's the key to this. It's just slowly stretching it in. So I've collared it, and now I'm going to go back, and starting about right here, I'm going to start pulling up and pulling inward.